3 things I need you to know. 1 in 3 women have experienced violence from an intimate partner. I am one of those women. A woman or girl is killed every 11 minutes. By the time I finish this speech, another woman or girl will have been killed. And in my country, Iran, your hair can get you killed, but only if you're a woman. This is domestic violence on a national scale. To many in this room, Iran is a distant place, a place that we can shut off by turning off the news. But for me, it's my mother home still. And our sense of home never leaves us, and it hasn't left me. I moved to the States when I was 5 years old with my family. 3 years later, my mother contracted viral meningitis and quickly passed away after 2 weeks. When she passed, her body was sent back to Iran and she was buried at the National Cemetery, Behesht-e Zahra. A year later, summer of '79, my father and I returned to Iran to grieve her at her gravesite. That wound up being the summer of the Iranian Revolution. It went, Iran, from a nostalgic birthplace to a hotbed of discord and revolutionary fever. As a child, I anxiously watched the revolution from the streets with my older cousin Nilüfer in hand. I watched the country implode from the sidewalks. Nilüfer, just 2 years older than me, but much wiser, had convinced our parents to let us out of the house under the guise of buying ice cream at the corner store. Before our eyes are ice creams in hand, melting in the summer heat. Modern Iranian society unraveled. There were bombings of Western-style movie theaters. Music and performance were literally outlawed. Films were censored and banned. In less than 4 weeks, just 30 days, a summer. Together with the girls and women in my family, I stepped back 2,000 years in time and obediently covered with the hijab scarf and chador. Unbelievably, the punishment for not covering would be 70 lashings and detainment at a re-education center. Each day, the newly formed Islamic Republic stripped away a bit of modernity, agency, and freedom from us all. The elders in my family sat us down, us girls, and just explained that we too would be covering when going outside, just to be safe. You see, they knew that our hair would be weaponized against us. In one fell swoop, we were dehumanized by a piece of cloth. We had no choice at that point to be willing participants in our own oppression. I have no issue with choosing to cover. In fact, there are many women in my family that choose to cover and wear the hijab and chador by choice. My point is that we must allow women in these countries, in Iran, to make that choice. I'm Ellie Javadi, an Iranian American. I immigrated here with my parents, Mali and Jafar. We settled in northern New Jersey. My parents hoped to find a better life here, like many of you who have immigrated. From that point, I understood that as a woman and as an Iranian, I would be living 2 lives and making some sacrifices along the way. For example, my family chose to de-Islamicize our names. At home, I was Elham, and in public, Ellie. It was at once confusing and exciting to get a new identity and a cute name like Ellie. Every day, I'm reminded that in my birth country, Iran, if you are a woman, showing your hair is a life and death matter. On September 16th, as many of you know, last year, 22-year-old Mahsa Amini died from her injuries after being beaten by the Islamic Republic's morality police. Why? Well, as many of you know, she had inadvertently shown a small sliver of her hair in public. This was in spite of her wearing the obligatory headscarf. You see, it had just simply slipped. So hair, what is it? And why are women in Iran being killed for it? And why has society, not just in Iran, projected so much onto it? After all, it's just a protein filament made of keratin, and it grows from our skin follicles. On our heads, it's beautiful, shiny, frizzy, kinky, tactile. And it can sometimes have a communicative function for flirting, for example. Hair also protects us against trauma and our skin from the UV rays of the sun. Hair can even help protect us and camouflage us against predators. It's also for warmth. So hair is a part of society. It's a part of all of us. It's important to us. We grieve its loss and we spend billions on its care. Hair is everything. We need it. Our hair is our crown. Growing up, I watched my mom fuss with her own hair every day. It was one of the first things that we would do together in the morning. Here she is sitting with her sister, my Aunt Manija, getting her Persian kinky hair straightened with an early straightening comb iron. This one is of me, my mom, and her brother before we left for the States. So this is in Iran. You could see the cool 70s look. And I love my Uncle Amir's Persian fro. So as we've seen, there's also a dark side to hair. It's truly dangerous in some countries. In Iran, it's believed to be a sexual attractant, and a small sliver of your hair revealed can get you killed. Today, history is repeating itself, and my country is being ripped apart again. This time around, it started with one young woman's hair, and yet we all know it's about so much more. Hair in this context is just a mechanism used to inform this government's power and oppression. Right now, as we're sitting here comfortably, safely, a whole country and continent away, the women and youth of Iran are rising up and leading a new kind of female-led counter-revolution. These brave women and men are being killed and executed by the hundreds. This is domestic violence on a national scale. It's a true life Handmaid's Tale. And for the last 4.5 months, Iran citizens have gathered to protest the Islamic regime. The protests have now taken hold all around the world. In the Western world, we have the potential to be anything. We're lucky to have so much freedom. We can choose to wear our hair up, cut it off, dye it green, braid it, perm it, shave it, whatever we like. It's our human right to express ourselves with our hair. It's how we find our tribe. It's how we make community. It's a simple freedom. You today all fixed your hair and primed and got ready to come to this event. These women in Iran don't have that right, and they are simply trying to regain it. Sanctions were designed to put pressure on governments behaving badly. In principle, they're a brilliant process to effect change. However, in reality today, these sanctions against Iran are bringing incredible suffering to the people. A pint of milk, a loaf of bread, fueling your car, these are outrageous burdens to the average citizen. And Iranians just want to provide for their families, just like us. And they can't. I appeal the Biden administration to reconsider their policies against Iran and the people that they are affecting. It's when people have reached their capacity, when their suffering is so great, when young men and women and children take to the streets and stand up against tyranny, that's when regimes can and will be overturned. These brave protesters are out there up against armed military forces. They don't have guns or equipment to protect themselves. 14,000 protesters have been arrested to date. and the death count has now exceeded 500, and executions are beginning. Please don't let this tyranny go unnoticed or unaddressed. If you're interested in making a difference, please, I invite you to connect with me after this event. We can make an impact together. We can make a difference in this world together. We can. Please join me in supporting the women of Iran. Women, life, freedom.